Yep.
Hey guys, thank you for joining us for another exciting episode of Yoml. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. Today we're doing another Taleb reflection, Taleb book reflection. This is part 4 of 5 of the book Anti-Fragile, the things that gain from disorder by Nassim Nicholas Taleb. So take it away, Chris.
Yeah. Looking forward to part 4 or 5. So we've been going through anti-fragile things that gain from disorder. If you past couple sessions here. So I feel like everybody's probably should, if you've been following along and listening, you probably got a good handle on maybe what fragile versus anti-fragile is. Yesterday we talked about, like curiosity is anti-fragile. It's things that only have upside, basically, that, when you break them down and you keep, there's no downside to asking a question, right? Like, there's very little fragility and only compounds and gets better and better. So it's things that gain from disorder, right? Well, today I wanted to talk about a thought that popped up during this book that I had. It was called it is true, if you don't use it, you lose it. And I'll explain. So the every time I hear this quote, like, have you ever seen the movie 40-Year-Old Virgin?
Mm-hmm.
Do
Yes.
you remember when Andy, Steve Carell's character, he was at the sexual health doctor or whatever, he was taking his girlfriend's daughter there for, like, I don't know, she was getting like the pill or something like that or whatever. I can't
Uh-huh.
remember why she was there. And he asked the lady, he goes, she goes, and do you have any questions for me? And she was asking about, she thought it was his daughter or something like that. And he goes,
Uh,
no, well, yeah, I do have a question. She goes, he goes, is it true if you don't use it, you
you
lose it?
lose.
And she goes, are you serious? And it's hilarious because he's a 40-year-old virgin and he doesn't know, and he's just like, and he's honestly asking this question. It wasn't like a joke. So it's and obviously, if you know who Steve Carell is,
But
he's
the thing is,
yeah,
she didn't answer, and we're answering for him.
right, right, right.
We're answering.
Well, so the title is "It Is True If You Are to Believe Nassim Taleb," right? If you don't use it, you lose it. And it made me start to think about, human beings as a species are very anti-fragile. We're endurance machines. Our minds and bodies have been fine-tuned to adapt and evolve to all different kinds of circumstances thrown in our path. It doesn't matter where we live, what we eat, like what we do, like, our imaginations, our ability to create new ideas, to communicate, to connect to each other. All these things force us, every time that we get stressed, forces us to adapt, to grow, and to improve. And collectively, I mean, individually, obviously, each one of us are certainly fragile, but collectively, humanity as a collective is pretty anti-fragile. I mean, that's not to say that, like, some meteor couldn't hit the earth tomorrow and then it all falls apart and we all die from it or something like that, or I don't know, some catastrophe happens. Like, I'm not saying that we're like invulnerable, but I mean, we've done a really good job as
I
humans
think we're
of
pretty invulnerable.
I mean, we've definitely done a good job as a species to try to figure out how to, how to say and how to be anti-fragile. And the thing that is, got me thinking about, like this is, I mean, after this whole journey, like, I was telling you right before this, I'm on my last 2 reflections before I officially finish,
Mhm.
as I get, like, reflective going back on this whole entire thing, like, I mean, we were just talking about the rise and reign of mammals yesterday, and it's one of those things where I've never been more proud to be human, in my entire life, like, than I feel right now, and that I continue to feel, and it just gets stronger and stronger as I continue to, navigate this world with Amelia, and we're doing what we're doing and living for 2. But, like, I mean, I'm just damn proud to be a mammal. I'm really proud to be a mammal now, and I'm also damn proud to be a human, and it's really cool to think all the things that we've endured and overcome to get to the state that we are today. But, and the flip side of all that is we've done such a good job of trying to use all of our, of taking all the stressors that's been thrown at us to adapt and grow, that we've, in modernity, we've made life pretty damn easy for a lot of us. And and we sit back and we don't do shit, like we eat a lot, you know, we don't exercise, we don't ask questions anymore, we don't keep our minds right, we don't communicate with each other, we don't use it, right? You know, and the truth of the matter is like, as amazing as we are, like, if it is true, if you don't use it, you do lose it. Like, if you stop asking questions and stop using your imagination, and stop stressing your body and stop exercising and stop, you know, engaging with the world, and stop, you know, doing all the stuff that we do, like, you know, that make us anti-fragile, we become pretty damn fragile, and individually, and it just, you know, it was something that like stuck out to me as I was reading this book and I was thinking through this, and it's like, okay, well, then what do you do, right? Well, the answer is use your gifts every fucking day, every day. Like, you know, go ask a question, go do something, go have a conversation with a friend, go embrace uncertainty, go take a cold shower, go, you know, I don't know, do whatever. Like, but don't forget to challenge yourself, do new stuff, get outside your comfort zone, and use it. Like, you know, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. And like be a human. That's pretty damn cool. But you gotta be a human. It's a verb, right? You can't just, you know, sit down and, you know, just, who wants to just sit around and eat potato chips all day long and veg out on TikTok videos? Like, that's the worst thing that we've done, you know. So anyway, love to get your thoughts. That was a reflection. It is true. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Okay, let me put it this way. In my mind, human is the quintessential definition of anti-fragile.
Yes.
Okay, and the thing is, you have to understand, in our world, this is a very chaos world. It goes from order to disorder. We are the opposite of that. We are the composers. By definition, because we're in this world, anything that leaves alone is going to disperse.
Right.
You think about anything that you build, right, over time that you left alone, it's going to wither away and disperse into nothing. This is the natural, the nature of this world. We, as a human being, it is the opposite. We do opposite of that. I guess the composition of my face is bunch of random molecules put together. The composition of your face, your hair, your ear, your hands, your body, your bones, and the way it works, the way it connects together, it is being composed opposite of what this world, the nature of this world. So you think about it, we are the quintessential definition of anti-fragile. And you also think about, if the world gets tough, human adapt and become stronger.
Right.
Right? You think about it, like when in wartime, you got a lot of people band together. I mean, in times of need, we get to be creative. We invent a bunch of things. Right. That's what I'm saying is, when the world gets tough is when humans are at their best.
When we're stressed, like we need
that's the definition of disorder.
Right.
That's the definition. That's the thing is, this is what I'm saying is, even by a natural existence, we already defying the chaotic world of this universe.
Right.
We already find that, right? And then the second thing is, like, when we are even put under more stress, we grow even faster.
It's unreal. I mean,
you look at 9/11. You look at World War I, World War II. You look at the independence, right? The American Independence War, right?
Look at Amelia. Then look at me and Amelia and our journey together.
Exactly.
I mean,
like, so that's what I'm saying is, man, don't take this lightly. But this is in my mind, when I understand what anti-fragile is, human, it is the quintessential definition of what an anti-fragile is. Right? Yeah. And so the question is, how are you embracing your humanity? Is that, to me, as a human, and all human has this, we have to do something. We cannot do nothing. We have to do something. But because in this world, there's always pros and cons in every single thing. If you have time, you will gravitate toward the things that you are best at, whether that's to play tennis, go fishing, or to create stuff. Because for me, it's I don't know why, but I like to create stuff. When I create stuff, it makes me happy, make me feel blessed.
Same here.
I don't,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
Because the thing
for
is,
sure. Yeah,
that's my nature. I have to do what it is my composition of DNA needs me to do. So for me, is I have to do something, and it's going to be the same for you and for the other guy, the next guy, the next guy. Everybody has to do something, okay? And so the way to embrace humanity is to let your nature drive you.
right.
Don't because the thing
Let your
is
elephant.
so what I'm saying is in our life there is pros and cons. We cannot do nothing, but we can do something that isn't in our nature to kind of like occupy that time. So in today's world, we are occupied because the thing is, for example, you're sick, right? You're sick because
I was
because
about ready to sneeze right when you said that. I was like, I was fighting off a sneeze right now, and you jinxed it. Yeah, no, you jinxed it. Now it's gone.
But I'm saying is, when you have I guess some event that happens to you, your body is trying to compensate that to get back to equilibrium. So you want to say, well, I need to go drink some medicine, I need to go bed, or I need to drink a bottle of wine. Right? So you have to compensate for that. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
so the thing on average, you're gonna have to make yourself on a balance scale. So for example, if you say I feel bad today, I'm going to reward myself so I can so my feeling is gonna be adjusted to equilibrium. If I'm in the middle, right, then I don't need to go and drink, eat potato chips and watch TikToks. You watch TikToks because you are suppressed during the day or during whatever time, and then when you have any moment, you want to compensate that.
Right.
So the thing is, this is what I'm saying is, if you ask me, how's my day, right? What's new? I say nothing. There's nothing new. So I can give you an example. Okay. Would you rather eat one bowl of food, whatever food that you like, on a Monday and won't eat that food again? For me, let's say I eat like a small bowl of water food and I eat the same small bowl, same amount every day for 7 days a week. But let's say you eat 7 of those in one day, but nothing the 6 days. So on average, you and I eat the same amount, but you have a huge spike in terms of, okay, I have a lot of food and I have no food. I have a lot of food and I have no food. So whenever you have these spikes, right? You are trying, because whatever the case, you're gonna balance out
Yeah. It's a pendulum. It swings back
it's
and forth.
pendulum. Let's say somebody
right.
push you over to the left, you're gonna lean to the right more to balance out. So that is how we as a person adapts. So that's what I'm saying is, for me is I rather be consistent because I don't want ups and downs. When you have up, you're gonna go down,
Right.
right? It is that was it. That's why for me it's like, even though my health is not as good as most people, which is like my health is very bad in terms of on average, but I don't get sick that much.
Well, you don't have kids that are in cesspool daycare anymore.
No, I do. I mean, my kids go to school, but
no,
what I'm
I know.
saying is
I'm
I don't
saying
get
they've
sick.
gotten through their daycare cesspool, picking up their fingers and licking their faces of their friends, and yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
they're a little less worse when they're
little less worse. But the thing is, I don't get sick, and knock on wood, because I believe that if I were to put myself in a more dynamic change, like in a significant change, it costs my body to try to adapt. And when that occurs, it's going to give opportunities for my body to be attacked by different things. If I keep myself balanced for the most part, then yes, there may be some event that may cause it to kind of get off of the tilt, right?
right.
But for the most part, it's not going to change. So if you ask me today, right, what happened? Oh, nothing happened. That's what I want. I don't want like, hey, I have this and then I got nothing. I got a bunch of food. I'll get no food, right? Just like you go to work, right? You make $100,000, okay? Make 100,000 a year. So you say, well, on average, I should make 100,000 a year. So if I make 100,000 a year every year, or I make like $0 for 1 year, and I make $200, the next year, right? On average, you do the same thing, but
Right.
imagine that life. How
Yeah,
how
no, it'd
hectic
be
would
too
that be?
stressful. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is you're stressing too
Yeah.
much, and
Yeah,
so
but
for
stress is, but if
no
you're
no no
talking
no
about those
no
stress,
no no. The thing is the stress in
it's the right
terms
kind of
of
stress for the right
the right
stuff.
kind of stress. This is the wrong kind of stress, because the
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
is
I agree. I mean,
what I'm saying is, like, as a human, we are compelled to do something. If
right.
you are not occupied by the wrong thing, you will gravitate towards the thing that you love to do. Whether that's to be build, like somebody like woodworking, somebody builds
Like
sword,
this.
like a
I mean,
smithing,
let's be
somebody
honest. Like
goes and
this is
be.
a stressor.
I mean, but it's not. What I'm saying is that
It's
there's a right stressors and a wrong
it
stressors.
is, but it is, but it's not. I'm saying like this is the right stressor because it doesn't it pushes us. It gets us out of our comfort zone. Like I'm sick. Like right now, like I mean, I would rather go lay down in bed and go to bed early. But I also want to have a conversation with you because I
No,
enjoy this and
this
I'm
is your
okay with.
cake. This is your cake. I mean,
I
it's
know.
not.
So I said that's what I'm saying. It's
I
a,
mean, the thing is,
I,
when you're down, you want to eat your
but
cake, and the more cake you want
it's
to
still a
eat.
stressor. I agree. It's still one of those things where you're like, well, do I do this or do I not do this? Now, if it was
Because the thing
work,
is, if you're healthy, right? If
right?
you're healthy, you still do it. If you're unhealthy, you're like down under the weather, you still do it. So it's not a stressor because it doesn't stress you at all. The
Uh,
stressor is something else.
I mean,
This is a
well, that's
stress
fair.
reliever.
I'm trying to. Well, yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. I'm trying to. I don't know how.
Because the thing
I know
is,
what I'm trying to
the
say, but I'm
stress
not.
is your body is trying to fight the bacteria. That's a stressor, not this. Because I'm saying
Right.
is when you're healthy, you're still doing this, so it's not stressing you at all.
Well, okay, fine. My maybe let me revise what I'm trying to say. In any other scenario, if you told me I had to go talk to somebody on a Zoom chat for an hour at 8:30 at night while I'm sick, that would be like let's just pretend
I
that this
mean,
was
why are you gonna drink your glass of wine?
right. Well,
Right.
well,
It's
no,
not a stress if you want
no,
to do it.
no,
You
I
don't
know.
have to do it.
I'm just talking about the scenario of what we're talking about. Like, if you told me right now, like, hey, Chris, I need you to go jump on this work call because work is a bad word, right? Like, if this is a play
Because you
call,
don't want to
like,
do it.
right, exactly. But this is the same scenario where you said, hey, Chris, go talk to this person for an hour, and one of them is a work call, one of them is a play call. One of them, what I'm doing is perceived totally different. And this is what we're talking about. This is what I think you're trying to get to, and I know what you're trying to say is like it's the right stressors. Like it's still a stressor. We're still going out of our comfort zone to go eat the cake is what we call it, but it's still a stressor. Like going on a 4 mile
Right, because the
run
thing
is
is,
still a stressor. My body's still
you
being stressed, but I like it. Like playing tennis when I'm sick, it's a stressor, but I still like it. Like and like it's one of those things where it's the right. You got to pick the right stressors in your life that align to where you want to go. Because if you pick the wrong ones, those stressors destroy you. Like, I mean, but you pick the right ones, they build you up, right? Like it's really weird. Like, and that's where the values all come into play with all this stuff. It's interesting to like start to peel back the layers of onions and all those things because it's all the same stuff. They're all stressors. Like, but it's either the right stressor, which we call cake, or the wrong stressor, which you call eating the frog,
right,
right?
because the cake is made of the same materials that anything else. It's just
Right.
one you say, "Hey, I like cake." The other one say, "I don't like whatever this is." So, like for example, somebody say, "Hey, this is a vanilla cake. This is chocolate cake." Well, you're gonna like one cake and doesn't like the other cake. Well, it's made of the same thing. It's
Right.
just different flavor, right? I'm just saying, like, I have my affinity for this, so it's the same material, but for whatever. The thing is, in the terms of doing an activity, where whatever it is, as a human, you're gonna have to exert energy. You're gonna have to spend up some energy to do that, right?
Had to
But
blow my nose. Sorry.
one is called work and one is called play, right? From, let's say you're looking from an alien perspective, he looks at you and say, "Hey, this guy's go to work tennis." He want to work tennis when he's still like
Well, Andre Agassi did go to work tennis. You know,
But
and he
I'm
hated
talking about you.
right,
I'm talking about Andre. I'm talking about you.
right,
I mean, you're sick,
right.
and you went to work tennis. Imagine an alien comes to Earth and he's looking at Chris, right? And he say, "This dude, like, he's sick, and he still went to work tennis."
Right. You're like, what are you
You think
doing,
about
man?
it,
Yeah,
right? But that's
yeah.
that's my point. Is that from our perspective, it isn't work, but from the alien perspective, it's the same thing. This guy is using up his energy
Right.
to
On
do an
fly. Right,
activity,
right. When you shouldn't be.
right? And so when you say something is a stressor, something isn't a stressor, well, technically yes, but the word kind of means different
I
because
know, and actually, this is something we've stumbled upon so many times. Is words like work, addiction, stress. You know, like they're good and they're bad, but we only use them in a bad connotation. You know, and like there's no there just like there's no anti-fragile. You know, that's why Nassim Taleb invented the word anti-fragile because there is no opposite of fragile. Like, what's the opposite of work? Is it anti-work? What's the
not work.
opposite of what not work? What,
But
but you
not
could
work because nothing, right?
but not work is not work like that. So it's anti-work. It's work that you want to do, right? You know, what's the opposite of stress? It's anti-stress, but it's stress that you want in your life. You know, what's the opposite of
But
addiction? It's anti-addiction.
it's like,
You know,
a force to the left and a force to the right is still a
right,
force, but
right.
it's a different direction. Like
But
this is
we don't have words for these though. Like that's
this
the
is
weirdest thing.
left
Isn't that
force is
isn't it?
anti-left force. I mean, it still has the same. It makes up the same unit of the same element. It's just
Right.
pointing in different directions.
But isn't that kind of fascinating? We don't have words for
So it should be
the other
anti-stress,
words. It should be
anti-stressor.
anti work, you know, or like why do we not have? I had this argument. We were doing the "Why are you yelling" thing with my buddies a couple weeks ago, and one of these guys that does this, who's like just a genius. Talk about reading. Like the guy's read thousands of books in his life. You know, he went to school for philosophy. Like, I mean, this is his bookshelves when you walk into his house is just all, you know, he's got 500 million books that he's like, you know, it's just unreal. He also is has a master's in like clinical psychology. Like, you know, he works in psych wards basically. And he's a nurse. He's a nurse. He's not an RN. What do you call the one that's above that? A nurse practitioner. He's a nurse practitioner in a psych ward. You know, whatever, right? So he deals with these crazy people all day long in the DSM, which is, you know, the diagnostic whatever manual code, you know, the DSM. You know what I'm talking about? You know what the DSM is?
Not really.
It's the diagnostic and statistical manual of mental disorders. So this is like the Bible for like psychologists and psychiatrists, and you know, this is where they label all of the you know, diagnostic, you know, like, hey, you have ADHD, this is in the DSM, you have this is what the criteria looks like, this is what it is, right? It's like mental health disorders and you know, and all this stuff that's like diagnostically, you know, scientifically documented that people can chart back on, right? So he looks at everything from the DSM perspective, and we have this argument constantly about addiction because he's like, no, Chris, addiction means this. I know what addiction is. Like, it is. I see
based
it
on that manual, not based on what we know.
I know. That's what I keep telling him. I'm like, James, I don't care what the DSM says. I don't have, my identity isn't wrapped up into this world that you lived in. I'm just looking at it from an outside perspective. You could have good addictions. I don't know what that word should be, but like, there are good addictions in this world. Just like there's
I'm addicted to air.
Exactly.
I'm addicted to air.
But he'll go, that's not what the definition means, Chris. Like, and words matter. And I'm like, yes, words do matter. Like, but it's a cyclical, you know, like, you know, argument that we keep getting into in this "why are you yelling" debate. But it goes back to a lot of the stuff that you and I have talked about, which is like, words do matter. Always be impeccable with your words. We don't have another word, just like we didn't have a word for the opposite of fragile. We don't have another word for the opposite of work. We don't have another word for the opposite of addiction. Like, you know, because we think of addiction, we go, oh, it's a bad addiction. You're a drug addict. You're doing something that's derailing your life. Well, what's a good addiction? That's the compound effect. It's an upward spiral in your life. You know, I mean, we need to like either invent new words, or like we need to write a book on anti-addiction, or whatever. Like, I mean, is that what you just do? Is you just take whatever the word is and you call it anti that? Like, I mean, I guess that's what Nassim Taleb did, because it's like,
but I think is that's better than then use a word that people think it means something else. Because
right,
even if you say, hey, this is the opposite of that, at least even though they only understand the new word, but they say, well, it's not fragile, it's not stress, it's not addiction. You know what I mean? Because
right.
they come to understand addiction as this. And so it's hard for them to say, well, I understand what you mean when you say a stressor, but good stressor. They're gonna like, what? What do you mean
Right.
good stressor?
Well, I mean, because bad stress is like, I mean, today, okay, so like for instance, I had this moment today when I left my job because I'm I do all my living for two stuff every day with Amelia. Like, I write every day. I do this stuff with you. I'm deep into, like, I'm in a sprint marathon right now, finishing out these last couple books. So I'm already like over what I did in, like, in terms of like Audible wise, like what I did, 2 months for the past few months, and I have like 10 more, 12 more, 11 more days to go in the month, kind of thing, like I'm really pushing it. Like, if this was like a run, like, and I was running at an average 7 mile an hour pace, I mean, I'm like at a 5.5 mile an hour pace, sprinting toward the finish line right now. So like, I'm still going and I'm going hard, but like, I left the office today, um, the office, the metaphorical office, I guess now. And I had this moment where I was sitting down and I was just like so exhausted because I did so many things, and a part of me goes, why am I doing all that? Like, what is, like, I mean, I enjoyed it, but I was like, what am I doing? Like, like, why did I just do so many things today and feel and exhaust myself further and deplete my resources even further? And for what? Like, that was like, I didn't do any coaching today. I didn't do any one-on-ones. I didn't talk about people's values today. This is like one of my, all the normal like bullshit meeting days where it's like leadership meetings and strategic meetings and numbers and blah blah blah, and whatever. It was just a bunch of bullshit is what it was. And I'm like, what the fuck did I just accomplish today? Like, talk about stressors. Like, I felt disheartened at the end of today because I was like, what am I doing? Like, so what am I doing this for? Like, these are the things that are the bad stressors in life, because you're like pushing yourself to beyond the limits of my what I physically should be doing right now. And not only that, I'm not doing it for anything that I like. Like, I don't mind going to jump into a cold shower and going to do my Wim Hof breathing exercises right now, because if anything, it makes me feel a little bit better. I don't mind going on a long run with Amelia as we listen to Bill Bryson and we're in our own little world, and running in Australia right now with him as he's talking about Melbourne and Adelaide or whatever. Like, I don't mind any of these things, right? Like this is good, but it's still stressors. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I mean, I didn't feel great, but like, I didn't care. Like, I didn't mind it. I enjoyed the process, and then the other side of it, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I don't know. Like, that's the best example I can give you of bad stress versus good stress. Like, I'm still stressing myself, but like, for what? Like, is it for the right stuff that you want to do it for, or is it the wrong stuff?
Right, and that's exactly what I'm trying to say is because in our world, we have to do something and we will. But if you do something that isn't what you want, meaning like doing the thing you do, which is quote unquote bad stressor,
right.
you took that time. There wasn't any time left for you to do the good stressor. So to
Right.
be human, you need to watch out for that, because these decoys will suck your time away, and eventually you didn't get to do the thing that your mind wants to.
Right.
The key word is minding. You don't mind doing these things. You're still doing something, because that's human nature. We have to do something.
Right.
Right? Whether we do something we want or we do something we don't want. By default, if you don't choose what you want to do, the society will choose for you. Your environment will choose for you, and it's not going to fit align. And not going to align with what you want to do. Probability is very low. So that's what I'm saying is, to be human, if you want to embrace your humanity, be a human. When you be a human, you watch out for things that are going to occupy your time that isn't fitting with you, who you are, what your nature wants you to do.
Right.
And so that's what I want to warn people. Say, hey, don't worry about what it is. that it's going to be the right fitting for you. Just be in a place where you know what you don't want to do. So when you do something like, hey, this isn't what I'm feeling, right? It doesn't give me the blissful feeling. Then do something else. Quit that. Don't continue to do it because, like I say, people work at a corporate for like 50 years when they got out of school, right? You're 20, 21, 22, whatever, and they work until this fucking like 70, right? 75. Now
Yeah.
now retirement is even higher. It's like you're working for 50 years, and by the time you finish, it's like, well, okay, what am I doing now?
What do I do now? I told you about my dad, right? When he's retired, he just retired last year. He's about a year and a half now into his retirement. He was like 6 months in, and I went over there one day to go. Oh, it was when our AC went out, and I was staying with him. And I was like, what are you doing every day, Dad? And he was like, I don't know. I'm like, well, what do you want to do? And he goes, I don't know. And I go, what do you mean you don't know? And I was like, what do you like to do, Dad? And he goes, I don't know. And I go, what do you mean you don't know? And I was like, how do you not know? I was like, Dad, I've been your son now for 38 years. I know what you like to do. You like to ride your bike. You like to talk about Led Zeppelin and old rock stuff. You like to play your guitar. You like to go buy random like knives and shit like that, and throw random throwing stars and shit. You're like, you like to do your jujitsu. You like to do woodworking and stuff. You do a lot of things, Dad. Like you do a lot of I mean, like there's a lot of things that my dad loves to do. But he's like, when he thinks of all those things that he loves to do, and then he puts that up to what he did for his career, for his entire career, which I think he did like to do that because he was a sales engineer. And he has an engineering mindset. But either way, like when he thinks of what he likes to do versus what he did for his career, like I just don't think it doesn't compute to him that I can do whatever I want to do now, and I can do it all day long, and I don't have to like, I don't have to like, there's no rules. Like, so for him, he's like, well, this isn't like one specific thing that I'm doing every single day that I like, have to do, I don't know. It's like, he just can't compute, in his head. He still struggles with it right now. Now he just like does like a hodgepodge grab bag, a bunch of stuff every day that's kind of all helter skelter, but I think he's trying to figure it out. He's reading more. He talks to me about more and more books every day. He uses my Audible account all the time. And he like, and he, every time I go over there, I feel like, he ends up bringing up the history of the world in 6 classes. He loves like history and shit like that. He loves, reading books. Anyway, so it's fun.
If you think about it, I mean, I want to stop you there because it's very interesting because as humans concerned, right? Like I said this before, we are a collection of stories. When you talk to anyone who is in their, like your dad's age or your grandma's age, right? There's a lot of wisdom, but it's all come from the stories, and they love to talk about the story. Go talk to your grandma. Go talk to your dad. He's gonna talk about story. It's all about the history because that is what it is. As far as humans concerned, we are a collection of our memories. Is a collection of stories. So history and all this is what makes you.
Agreed.
I mean, so that's what I'm saying is when you get to the point where you are your dad's age, how many stories do you have?
Oh, I mean, Jesus Christ,
figuratively speaking, to the audience, that say if you get to that point, what stories do you have, right? What story you? I mean, the thing is, the story isn't like, hey, I went into this, battlefield and I was on, this whatever. No, it's hey, I built this, I built that. Whatever that makes you like alive, that's a story you're gonna tell. I mean, people tell the story that hey, I went fishing and I caught this fish, I caught that fish. Well, that's what they like to talk about because that's who they are. Because it isn't about a story of some heroic battle from the medieval and becoming the great knight, blah blah. This is nonsense. Everybody has their own story, and it's very common. Like the Tuesday with Morrie kind of story. Like this is what I do. I grew this. I built this garden. I raised these birds. I collect these knives. I collect this sword. The history of the sword and where the sword comes from. This sword is actually from there. Went here. Blah blah. Right. this is what that's who we are. It's not about like, hey, the story that, if anyone has a story, it's about some kind of this movie-esque type of story where, there's a plot, there's a twist, and anything like that. No, it's just basically, this is who I am. I go fishing, I make pasta, I make curry, I make, kimchi, I make soy sauce, and whatever the case. It's still fascinating because once you once you hear a story from a person who have their soul in the game, it is very, very engaging and very riveting to us. Regardless, I can tell you about the story with the sriracha sauce, right? The guy who is Vietnamese, he comes from
Oh,
Vietnam.
I don't know that was
Right,
Vietnamese. Sriracha.
he's Vietnamese, right? But the name, the sriracha sauce, Hufong, is actually a Chinese word because
Interesting.
he went on to Chinese ship. The the
Yeah.
um the carrier, it carries the stuff, right?
Right.
So he immigrated to the U.S. via that ship because the ship saved his life and carried him over. That's why he named the company Hifong, because that's. But he's Vietnamese,
Is that the name
right?
of the ship?
Yeah, that's the ship,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
right? But there's more than then. Eventually he has this. He grows chili. He grows, and the way he becomes like interested. Like he went to different restaurants and he would ask because he loves like spice. So he's keep asking for different sauce. Nobody give him the right sauce, and he actually started making his own at the store, trying to figure out to put a bunch of stuff together. And eventually, he brings his own sauce to the restaurant every time he goes to the full restaurant, right?
Nice.
And eventually that happens, and then he grows into the $1 billion company, and now he's like completely have the bunch of. But it's very interesting when you hear him
That's
talk
cool.
because that his entire life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you think about it, how is that a story-esque movie where you say, hey, this plot, this twist, and this dramatic blah blah? There's nothing like that, man. You know, honestly, we don't really care about that. We just care about, okay, how is this person? Because you look at the person, you look at him, and how he's turned, and what the commitment and conviction he has. That is what engages you to listen to him. It isn't the narrative of the story itself. So you can be very, very engaging and be mesmerized by what your grandma tells you about her life, and her
Right.
life could be like Tuesday with Maury. It's kind of story, and it's
Yeah.
still riveting to you.
Yeah.
And
Of
that's what I'm
course.
saying
Yeah.
is we
So
are that,
I love
and,
what I'm
and
doing.
so that's what I'm saying is to the question to the audience is, if you are at in an age of 70, what kind of stories that you tell that, hey, this is stories that
It's
I could tell over and over and over again, because whatever it is, if you like tennis, then you don't mind talking about the tennis and the lessons you've learned and all that stuff. If you like fishing, you don't mind telling the fishing story over and over again. You never get tired of it. But if it's something you don't want to do, I guarantee you, you tell one time, two times, you gonna hate your own fucking story.
dude. It is so funny you say that because like my grandmother's, I'm doing that grandma diaries project every
Right?
Sunday, and
Is that what's it called?
yeah, I'm calling it the grandma diaries. Yeah.
Well, it
But
sounds good. That's why I
yeah.
was.
The but they've been through so many, talk about stressors and living, right?
Mhm.
Like they've been through so many things that like when it's fascinating to say that, see that, because as you get older you get more anti-fragile, right? You gain from the disorder and the chaos that life has presented you, and the lessons you accrue along the way, right? It is really fascinating to really like talk to older people and to let them dive in like you were saying. But on the flip side of that, um like when you're not doing, the other thing you mentioned was when you're not doing what you like to do. So today, one of my like really close friends reached out about a week ago, and he was like, hey, can you come meet with my CEO of my company to we wanted to like pick your brain about like the Salesforce ecosystem and partnerships and things like that, and blah 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 blah. So I was like, sure, always happy to help. This is like one of my like really closest friends and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, of course, I'll jump on a call with him. So we had this call today, and I found myself like talking to this guy about like it almost was like an out of body experience, because he was asking me questions, and I was giving him really intelligent answers very quickly, like, not quickly, but really, really, really in-depth, intelligent answers, talked lingo, said everything the right way, gave him good insights. And it was almost like I zoned out. Like my elephant just took over, and I was like, but like, and I had this moment afterwards where I thought to myself, I was like, man, if I was my friend, because my friend didn't say much, because it was like he was really just kind of setting up a conversation for me to connect with this other guy. And I know that I could see kind of in his face, him going, well, man, I didn't know Chris really knew this shit that much, and as I got off the call though, like I was like, and as you just said what you just said, I don't give a fuck about any of that, and like, yes, I can talk intelligently about it. I can tell you all the lessons and wisdoms that I learned from all the stressors that I've been in this industry or in this job or whatever, but it's like there is no soul in the game when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I'm like, and it just sucks, because it's almost like you can become like Andre Agassi, you can become really, really, really good at something and hate it, like, and you're like, yeah, okay, come on, like, bring it on, like, okay, if you do this on a tennis court, I'm gonna do this, but I fucking hate it. Like, oh, you do this on a tennis court, I'm gonna do this, and this, but I fucking hate it. It's like it like blows my mind, like, and I'm like, it's crazy how good we can get at shit that we hate, and it just it doesn't that like blow your mind a little bit? Like, talk about wisdom accrued. Like, if you're gonna accrue wisdom,
yeah, you can be really good at what you hate. I mean,
right?
I mean, it's just about. I mean, you train your elephant.
Yes.
Your elephant does exactly what you want to do. So it's just a matter of, if you think about a topic 10 times versus 1,000 times, which one is going to be more? Which one are you more intelligent in? Your elephant is going to be more intelligent in whatever.
What do you do?
That you repeat. Like, you
right.
repeat something 1,000 times, the elephant's going to say, well, this is what I need to learn. And
right.
so the elephant's going to do what it does, but you may hate it. You may hate the stuff, but you can be really good at it.
Don't do that. Like, it's like
that's what I'm saying is when you pick up something and you don't feel like it is giving you the positive bliss that you want, go find something else, because that's not worth your time.
Agreed. Like, I mean, I'm not even joking. I was kind of impressed with the stuff that I was saying, because it was just so effortless, and I was like, fuck, I really do know what I'm talking about, like, and I'm like, like, I don't know what, I don't like that, like, I mean, I don't want to know what I'm talking about.
Eventually you're going to be disgusted by your own stories,
I agree. I don't want to tell the story. Like, who do I want? I don't want. Do you think I want Luca to wake up one day and, Chris wrote a story about how his dad knows how to talk about, how to sell software, like, and you're like, what the fuck? I don't care. Like, if my father came and told me, like, Chris, this is how you be a great sales engineer for a manufacturing company, I would go like, Dad, I don't give a fuck. Let's go play baseball or something like that together. Or let's go do the other stuff you like to do together. Like, show me things you actually care about. Like, because I guess if he really cared about it, maybe I would care about it too. Like, if I don't know, if he was like a doctor and he really cared about his patients, maybe I would care. Like, and one goes, I don't know, but like, I don't care, like, about, like, I mean, I would tell Luca this and Amelia this every day of my life. Like, I don't care about my job. Like, and they're like, but Dad, like, other people say you have like an important job and an important role and an important place, and you're like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't like it. It is just a job. Like, and I don't want to be there. If anything, I would do anything in my life to not be there. But the only reason that I am at this particular place at this particular time in my life is because I'm doing the thing that I really want to talk to you about, Luca and Amelia, is the fun shit that we do that I've been, experimenting on while I'm in this place, because I hope to get to this place someday. And they're gonna go, well, that has nothing to do with your job, and I'm gonna go like, exactly, like, like, the
thing is, everybody, I mean, we have so many variety of different, I guess, type of people on Earth, right? Because, like, you look at it, like, there's some people who lives in a city that has no access to growing anything, like any plants, any vegetables, want to go grow vegetables, and that's all they do, and it's all they talk about, and they love to talk about it. right? And there's the
Right.
people who are in a farm, right? That's what they do, and they hate it. They want to go to the city and sit in a desk and just sit and be in a cubicle. Okay. So the thing is, it's force fitting because there are certain people you force them to do a thing because all you have to do is swap. And
Exactly.
I mean, the thing is, like for example, like you talk about, let's say we have like a pizza. I don't know, it's not a good example, but just humor me for a bit. We have a pizza. Some people like to eat the crust, and some people don't. Just give the crust to people who want to eat the crust, and give
Wait,
the one. You know what I mean?
who doesn't like to eat the crust of a pizza?
Some people don't.
Who? You show me who. Is this a black swan? Like, who doesn't eat a crust of a pizza?
That's, I mean, I've seen a lot of pizza boxes where the crust was still put in.
What if you gave them like marinara to dip it in? Would they change that? Is it just because
Uh,
there's no sauce?
no, I don't think so. Like for example, my daughter, when they eat pepperoni,
Right.
pepperoni pizza, they don't eat the pepperoni.
Oh God.
I love pepperoni,
They're not.
so I
They
eat the
wouldn't.
pepperoni, right? That's so in this scenario, you just
They wouldn't
hey,
cut it.
whatever whatever it fits you, you just trade it. That's what I'm
Right.
saying is in our society today, we force fit it. Like you maybe like for you, hey, there's a certain thing you want to do, right?
Mhm.
But
Just
then
do it.
they make you do a sales job or a different job that has have to have meetings or whatever. But the thing is, somebody else wants to do that. So some people love to do taxes. Some people love to do math. Some people love to do statistics. Or I mean, they
Right.
do that naturally. Whether you ask them to do, I mean, basically you pay them to do it or not, they still do it. I mean, still they do it at home, right?
Right.
And so I'm saying is these people has this job. Like people, for example, people love to draw and design. I hate that.
I
Right?
agree.
So
Right.
I don't do design. Let someone else like to do design. Design. So don't force me to go design my own app, right? Let me
Right.
code, you design. So this is called the right fitting. But in
Right.
society, we don't have this separations of duties like we have today, because most people say, well, you should be either a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or a management, right? So that's basically the kind of like division. But in this division, it's so generic, right?
Right.
Because even in management, it's generic. Because even in teaching, it's generic. Because teaching, there's certain type of
Right.
teaching, right? There's a Montessori type teaching. There's more traditional teaching. There's more creative teaching, and there's a certain type of teaching that certain subjects that you want to teach, and there's certain I guess segment of the subject, whether it's math, but you say I don't want that math, I want application math, right? Apply math versus elemental math or like a more scientific math or whatever. There's so many divisions that you can go smaller and more like specific into, but we don't. We say, hey, since you're math, you should do this. So, for example, people say, hey, I'm in computers, but in computers, there's thousands of subdivisions in the computers in the software, right? Because like for example, um, for me is I'm in computer because right because
Right.
if I tell them I'm a software programmer, that's still large. I'm not a software programmer. I'm only this programmer with this technology with this type of project with this kind of line of business, right? So it's so narrow. But for example, my I think my uncle-in-law one time get mad at me because I couldn't fix his printer.
That's
It's
what's a
like
sprinter?
a printer. I can fix his
Oh,
printer.
printer. Oh, I think you
Printer,
said a
right?
sprinter. Yeah.
Because thing is, I'm in computer. He thinks that I
Right.
don't
You
want to
just you
fix
just
it.
know you just know hardware and you can fix it all. You're
Well,
a
because I'm in
guru. Yeah.
I'm in IT. So
Right. Right.
so
Right.
so I say, hey, I don't know how to fix your printer. He basically thinks that I'm just blow him off. Say, hey, I don't know how to fix it. But
Yeah.
he expects me to say, hey, I know. But that's the
Right.
thing, because it's so many division. So even for Snow, the way he teaches, he likes to
Right.
be philosophy teaching, and kind of instill his philosophy onto his young students. But the teaching that he's doing today isn't fitting in what the way he wants to do it. And so there's a lot of different ways people need to define or carve a specific niche of whatever that they want to do, right? Even though say, hey, I'm in sales, but they depend on what kind of sales. You can say, hey, I can sell secrets. Is that sales? It's still sales, but it isn't it's going to go against your other core value. So it's
Right.
not a right fit, even though it's still sell. I can sell
Right.
cigarettes, and I can sell like, junk stuff to kids, or I can sell like some promise or some dream that isn't there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that's what I'm saying is, even though in the sense of sales, or in the sense of whatever that you do, there's still division of it that may fit or may not fit. Right. So
Yep.
we have to find the specific niche that is aligned to who we're supposed to be, or by aligned to our nature. If
Right.
we understand what that word.
Find the right stressors is really what it is. Like, and the things and we call that eating the cake. I mean, that's like, I mean,
Anti-stressor.
Anti-stressor. Yes, exactly. Yes, that's exactly what it is. The eating the cake is anti-stress, yeah. All right. So I think that's a good place to pause for the night, which this is why, by the way, this is my final.
You're expending too much anti-stress
No,
today.
but I actually feel the irony of all ironies, this isn't ironic at all, is this made me pick my energy levels up, because I was dragging ass earlier. I had to go take like a nap at like 5 o'clock or whatever, because I was like, oh my God, I can't even make it to like past, I'm so exhausted from all the actual stressors of the day, and this is anti-stress. Now I have energy. Now I'll probably go downstairs and, go talk my wife's ear off for 20 minutes while she's trying to work and get stuff done. And, and she's gonna be like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. God damn it. I got stuff to do. So anyway, but no, what I love most about like this is my final thought. And then I'll give you your final thought and we'll part for the night. But, it's what I love about this whole entire process is exploring these topics more and more further. Cause like I remembered anti-fragile, but like I don't remember anti-fragile. But now I'm going to remember this conversation, and I'll remember, the stuff that we talked about yesterday about curiosity, about humanity, about, like all these other things. Like I will remember it, whether it's like fully, baked into here or not yet. Like it's a lot more baked into here than it was before, And besides that, it's fun just talking about it. Like it's fun to exploring these things further and further and further. They're just because it aligns to what we care about, but B, it's fun to talk to you about it. So this is this I don't know. That's why I love this. That's why I love this journey. It's just fun to think about.
Anti-stressors.
It's anti-stressors. Yeah. So here, I gotta write that one down as a truism. Let's see here. Where's your truisms? Oh, there it is. Anti-stressor. So is that equals eat the cake?
Yeah.
All right. I like that. All right. Anti-stressor. I like it. And that's another truism. There we go. I think that's we're building our How to Train Your Elephant book,
Yeah.
Awesome, man. All right. Any final thoughts?
Final thought is, use your gifts, because if you don't, it's a waste.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
It's a waste.
Yeah, it's a waste. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining. And question we can leave you all with: are you embracing your humanity? And if you're not, you'll lose it. It's a guarantee.
It's a waste.
So, yeah. It's a waste.
I mean, if you don't embrace your humanity, it's a waste. You think about it. You just waste. It's a big waste.
Yeah, totally agree. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining, and we'll see you all Monday.
See ya.